It's gone early.
Well, good morning, everyone. This morning's adult ed hour is the first of a series that I personally call "What the heck happened to our democracy?" What the heck? When I learned several months ago that our Senator Ann Johnson Stewart was promoting a talk at Pentagon Avenue United Methodist about the dangers of Christian nationalism, I knew we had to have her come here and enlighten us about these dangers and what we can do about it. Ann is part of a group of Democrat state legislators who formed the Secular Government Caucus to oppose the rise of Christian nationalism and politicians pushing their personal religious beliefs on others. Ann represents District 45 as our senator, is a civil engineer and also a professor at DFL. Thank you so much for coming. This has been what's happening in our democracy is engaged. Please spare what can be used and genocide. So to have here. And just so you know, she brought Chris.
The tough guy is nice to yeah. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm Ann, and what I thought I'd start out with was just 5 minutes on how the legislature is structured. I've been doing these driveway talks around my district to just let people, hi, how are you, Kathy? Good to see you again. Kathy was at one of my driveway talks just to let people know who I am, but to get their feedback, but then also to help them understand how they can be more effective. And so in full disclosure, I was maybe misled a little bit. I was told it's a big, beautiful bill today, but guess what? I'm a professor, I can do anything. So I could literally talk for 2 hours on whatever you guys want me to talk about. And so I'm just gonna start by introducing myself. So I'm Ann Johnson Stewart. Oh, I'm so sorry. See what I told you? I don't get a professor talking at everyone. Anyway, so I'm Ann Johnson Stewart, and I live just north of here in Minnetonka. I represent Senate District 45, which is all of the, oh, you're so kind. I love talking from the audience. All of the communities that touch Lake Minnetonka. The northern half of Minnetonka, so if you live in Minnetonka north of Highway 7, I'm your senator. If you live in Minnetonka south of Highway 7, you have Steve Swatzinski, who is a dear friend and a extremely awesome senator. So you're lucky if you live in Minnetonka, frankly, because you have your squad. And then also St. Bonifacius. I'd be happy to stay afterwards if anybody has questions. If you live in another area and you want to know more about your senator or how you might be able to be more active in your own Senate district, but in Senate District 45, we are pretty well organized. We have a really good group. So what I've done this talk several times, and one of the questions I get is, well, how do I know, how is the Senate organized? So if you'll just allow me to speak for just a few minutes on that. How many of you do live in Senate District 45? Oh, quite a few. Good, excellent. A few more things about me. I'm an active member at Wayzata Community Church. My husband was crushed that we weren't going to church together. Our service is at 9. He's the church treasurer, and I don't know, I probably do, but yes, you're quite knowledgeable. But in the congregational church, I have been the moderator, which is our council president, and all different roles over there. So we love that church. I'm really thrilled to tell you that we are moving to the left a little bit more in terms of social activism and social justice, and that's where Judy and I interacted. We've got a group going that is studying Christian nationalism. So even though I didn't bring notes on that, I feel like I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of work with other people. I used to belong to Hennepin Avenue United Methodist Church, where I got married, and so they have a really good group there. What I like most about Hennepin Avenue, I'm just going to call it Hennepin, you'll understand what I mean, is they are so, their Minister Elizabeth McCauley is so happy to engage in using that church as a facility for outreach. That's where Judy and I saw the speaker on Christian nationalism. And so while our church is a little bit less happy to do that, we can rely on Hennepin to host those kinds of things. And we're working right now, frankly, to put together something that's targeted at trans youth, transgender youth and their children. I'm sorry, and their parents. Because right now, frankly, it's pretty scary what's happening in Washington. My God, have you guys been looking at the news even this week, what's happening in Iowa and now going out to Portland? You know, it's scary. But if I had a child who was transgendered, I would be really nervous right now. The Trump administration is frankly wanting to make that illegal. He's already done it in the military, he'll do it with children, and our fear is that. So, the reasons that I'm here for Senate is just frankly my faith leads me to do that, and I shouldn't be thought of it, but it is so distressing what's happening at our federal level. And I will tell you the good news in church, right? The good news is that here in Minnesota, we have a very active group of legislators. We have an excellent governor, we have an excellent attorney general who are all working to protect us. And you know, really the fight is just it. So with that, let me tell you a little bit about who we are at the legislature. Again, this will be very quick because I know you want to talk about topics, but in Minnesota, we have 67 state Senate districts. We have 67 senators. Yeah, this may be new for many of you. I'm guessing it's definitely. Every Senate district has one senator and 2 state representatives. So we're here in Senate District 45, right there. And we have, this is why we have a tie. Oh, I'm sorry. This is why we had a tie in the House this year. Because we have an even number of House members, 134, but we have an odd number of senators. So in Senate District 45, we have Patty Acom on what we call the B side, and Patty lives just to the east of here in Minnetonka. She and I are, well, we're kind of neighbors in the extended words, but we are really good friends. We share core values, and we're both extremely involved in environmental issues. And so Patty represents the B side, which is Minnetonka, Woodland, Wayzata, and a little bit of Shorewood. On the A side, we have Andrew Myers, who is a Republican. He is now in his 3rd term, I think. He and I do share some values, but we are not aligned on others. But I work with Andrew because he is my partner in the House. Every 10 years, sorry, I'll try and stay by the name. Every 10 years, the legislative districts are reorganized based on the population. Every Minnesota state senator represents roughly 1/67 of the state. And so as the population grows and grows, we've never contracted, but as it grows, those boundaries are moved around. So you may be thinking, I don't think I've had Ann that long, and that's true, because just 2.5 years ago, the boundaries were such that most people in Senate District 45 actually had David Osment, who lived out in Mound. Kelly Morrison and I were redistricted together 2.5 years ago. She became our state senator for 2 years and then resigned to run Congress. My Senate district was most of Plymouth and the northern half of Minnetonka. So my husband and I live just north of the McDonald's in that little kind of sliver of Minnetonka that is north of 394. And so I'm new to many people. But again, a lot of people in Plymouth still think I'm their senator, which I'm not. They have Bonnie Westland now. The thing I want you to know is, number one, and above all, if you don't know who your state senator is, or this is our first time meeting, or you have not been involved in state politics, you are in good company. Most people really don't know who their state senator is. Most people think I work in Washington. I don't. I work at the state capitol. It's totally okay. There's no shame in that. And so this presentation that I have here is a 2-hour presentation. I never get through all 2 hours, but I've been giving it around at local libraries and churches. So if you want me to come back and talk more about how bills are made and how committees are structured and how you can really be most effective, I am happy to do that. Let's see, so I think I'll just keep going. Again, Minnesota has 134 House districts. I want to talk briefly just about that. Some of you may be following on social media, and you know that I posted a video that's kind of gone viral about, who represents you. If you want to get more information, or maybe you're thinking, I'm going to Patty or Andrew, just Google on your phone, who represents me, Minnesota. Share this with your friends, who represents me, Wisconsin, Nebraska, fill in the blank. There is a GIS, the Geographic Information System, website in every state that will link based on your address to who represents you. And one thing I have learned since living in the legislature for the last 3 sessions is how much of our lives are controlled in the state capital. We get a lot of news about the federal capital and what's happening in Washington. Frankly, a lot of that is so global, and it's just, it's kind of pushed down to the states to implement, which is what I'll talk about today a little bit when I do talk about healthcare and SNAP benefits, et cetera, that are being cut by the federal government. Most of those cuts will be implemented or not. At a minimum, they'll be dealt with at the state level. And so I really encourage you to find out who represents you at the state level. Again, I'm happy to come back and talk about how to advocate and be more effective. Even knowing who represents you, maybe, I would guess that we share many of the same core values. So contacting me to make sure that we protect the environment is great, but I'm already there. So I would probably meet you and tell you to maybe talk to some of the other people who have power and who are not in alignment with my values. Okay, so I do want to say that there is a movement amongst religious organizations. I won't say Christian because certainly we're just one of many, but Christian, Jewish, Muslim, agnostic, we consider all of them religious organizations to move towards more involvement, and which is where Judy and I met at the Christian nationalism discussion, because there's so many people who are really concerned, like me, I won't say us, but like me, about this rise in Christian nationalism that has taken over our federal government for sure, and to be certain, we see that coming down at the state level as well. So I'm happy to talk about that and to just give you, I just never sugarcoat it. I will answer any question and tell you exactly what you want to know as it relates to those kinds of things. Know that there's much here that I want to talk about. Let's just talk a little bit about where we are right now and some of the big issues. Actually, I do want to talk about this. So you may have heard quite a bit about this special session that the governor wants to call. Does anybody want me to talk about this and kind of highlight why it's a big problem? Who does not want me to spend 5 minutes talking about this? This is a really important thing because it will inform kind of a broader, just what is special session, how do bills work, why, just this morning, reading the Star Tribune, why haven't we done anything about gun violence in Minnesota? And that is a very frustrating thing for people like me who believe very strongly that we should ban assault rifles, that we should ban high capacity magazines, that we should be doing much more towards gun violence. So let me explain the hubbub, all right? Right now we have 65 senators in the Minnesota Senate, which is contrary to that number. We are down 2. That's because Nicole Mitchell resigned, and she's the senator from Woodbury who was arrested and convicted for felony burglary. And then Senator Bruce Anderson, who died a few months ago, he was from the district just west of us. Now, because both of those senators are no longer seated, well, I have a frog in my throat, but and the speaker on my frog, I ate for breakfast. Anyway, I did not eat it, fries. Okay, so, we only have 65 seats. Okay, now this is important. In the Minnesota Senate, the DFL is in the majority. Thanks to many of you who helped me door knock last year, and we did the special election, which maintained that 1 seat majority by the DFL. However, now we're down to, we still have a DFL majority, but we only have 33 Democrats, we have 32 Republicans. In the Senate, there is a very specific book of rules that we must follow in order to bring motions or legislation to what we call the floor, or even to bring it to a committee. To even introduce legislation, we have to follow these rules. And unfortunately, the rules state that in order to do many of those things, we have to have a 34 vote approval. We have to have a majority. Now, the book was not written, and this is statute, it was not written 4 times like now when we're down 2 senators. So it specifies that in order for a specific motion to go to the floor, they have to have 34 votes. That is a big problem for us right now, because even if we did have a majority of, or every single one of our DFL senators in line to do some of these things, we don't have it because we gave a Republican. Now, I'm just gonna tell you straight up what's going on in our caucus. So we have 33 DFL senators right now. Not all 33 are in favor of banning assault rifles. Not all 33 are, oh, did you make some wine? Excellent. Thanks, that was so thoughtful. My mother-in-law went to church at Lake the Isles Lutheran, and they always had wine with communion, which I'm a Methodist. Any other Methodist? Like that would be absolutely unheard of. So I just that's always kind of funny when we go to church there and I know wine is coming. Anyway, okay, so we do not have 33. Now, it's no secret who those 3 senators are. I have no problem saying their names out loud, because they've been in the paper many times. It's Grant Housechild from up near Ely, it's Rob Kubek out by Moorhead, and it's Judy Seeberger out by Afton. Now, I didn't see anybody write those names down, but those are the people you should be calling right now. If you believe that we need to ban assault rifles or to do any significant work on gun violence, I can give them to you later. Those are the 3 Democratic senators you really need to be calling. Eric Putnam in St. Cloud, he's also a little wishy-washy. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty frustrated with my colleagues. Now, on the Republican side, there is not one single Republican senator who wants to take a single vote on any of those issues, much less vote yes on any of those issues. And so Senator Mark Johnson, as you'll hear in the paper and read in the paper, is always saying, oh, we really need to hear more proposals on mental health and on hardening our schools. When they say hardening our schools, what they mean by that is installing bulletproof glass in every window. I'm not even kidding, that's one of their proposals. I can't imagine how many billions of dollars that would cost. Or in putting more police in our public schools, or making sure that security at our public school. Oh, and did I say public? I meant our schools, because actually they want all this for all of our schools, which is also a challenge because it means we would be spending government public money to put bulletproof glass in church and private schools. I have a problem with that, just for my value of supporting public education. So those are the kinds of things that the Republicans are presenting. I also want you to know that the Democratic caucus is very much understanding the issues around mental health and gun violence, but really the statistics show us that most of the mental health issues will lead to death by suicide and not death by mass shooting. And so as we look at a special session to combat this horrible reality of more mass shootings, not just at schools, but everywhere. We know from the data that mental health is important, but it's not really going to help us solve those problems significantly. Now, on the House side, we have another problem, currently have a tie. This is really relevant in case you think I'm just treading water or tap dancing, as those teachers call it. This is an important thing, because right now, through the end of next year, we have a tie in the Minnesota House. Now, normally, we would be able to, collaborate and work. If Melissa Hortman had not been murdered, we certainly would have more power as Democrats. I'm a Democrat, I don't want to assume that all of you are, but as Democrats to steer the conversation. I saw her do it in the last legislative session. She is an extremely competent and skilled negotiator, and she very much made sure that many of the Democratic platforms went through the House. The reason that that's important is because when we had the tie, if you remember last January, the Democrats refused to show up in the House for a number of weeks. That's because they were negotiating this leadership structure. And Melissa Hortman felt that they were not being listened to, so she told her caucus to stay away. Now, when Melissa came back, they had this special election to make sure that they were fully seated. She negotiated that Lisa Damoth, who is the Republican leader, would be what's called the speaker. Now, she negotiated that out of good faith and never imagining that she might be murdered in June. So what happened then is now we have Lisa gone, we have Lisa in leadership. Now we just elected Zach Stevenson, who I think is fantastic. However, it's a different dynamic. When Lisa Damoth was given the Speaker of the House title, and you might hear legislators talk about the gavel, the power of the gavel, she now has the power for every legislative session, special or not, until the end of next year, to control anything that comes to the floor. So anything that the House discusses on the floor in session or goes from there goes to committee is controlled by Lisa Damoth, who is a Republican, who has already said point blank, she is not bringing any gun violence measures to the floor. And so this is what we're dealing with. Right now, we have very skilled politicians, of which I am not one. I'm a civil engineer that just cares about, justice and infrastructure, but there are people who are very skilled at figuring this out. And so it's not dead. If the governor does indeed call a special session, we may be able to get some points made. We may be able to have some political theater. We will not be able to vote on anything just because Lisa Damoth has said absolutely not. So that's another person you might want to call. Andrew Myers is another person you might want to call. There's a lot of people I will tell you who to call, both in the Senate and the House, in order to push this forward. Keep in mind that we do have session starting again February 17th, and so all of this will happen then, we hope, but we still won't see anything happen in the House, which is really frustrating. You have a question?
I the state legislature for 10 years as committee administrator. Oh, but I handled all my legislators' mail. He didn't pay any attention to anyone contacting who was in his district because that wasn't involved.
Yeah.
So do they listen if you're not from your district?
I think, yeah, I find out we work.
Elastic and years ago had both. I
Okay.
think you were born then.
That's part of, we're saying my lovely hair colors. Yeah, people ask me that all the time, and I'm glad you asked. It was just the next thing I was gonna talk about. So if people contact me that don't live in my district, I do care very much, because what that allows me to do is to go to my caucus and to say, I have had 6,500 people reach out to me. So it's helping me make my case to people that don't want to have this special session. Now, on the Republican side, I cannot say. But here's what I can say, there are some Republicans who live in very, you hear the word purple districts. Andrew Myers is one of us. He's gonna have a hard time keeping that seat. As Lake Minnetonka area gets more and more Democratic. Julia Coleman, who lives in Victoria, she likes to present herself as this Mother Mary figure who cares so much about her children. Yeah, she's a Republican. I would contact her. Zach Duckworth, same thing. Again, I don't want to take time right now, but I'm happy to stay afterwards and give you some names. Because Eric Pratt is running for Congress. He's gotta get votes in Egan and West St. Paul and lots of Democratic places. If he does not take a stand on gun violence, he's gonna have a hard time beating Matt Klein, which I don't want him to, but he's gonna have a hard time with that. So that's a state of, I think that informs many of our issues right now. If you're frustrated with the municipal legislature and you don't see things happening that you think should, the problem frankly is solidly in the House. So this year we had a lot of really good legislation that came through the Senate. And then when we came to negotiate with the House, a lot of it just died. It's very frustrating, but that's what's happening. Okay, so that is a state of the state right now. And I have lots of things that I can talk about.
Well, Christian.
Where do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we see Christian nationalism become a really big problem, obviously, at the federal and at the state level. I would encourage you to, Judy, do you have a group here, or what's happening at St. Mark's, just for, or St. Luke's? I knew it was wrong as soon as I said it. St. Luke's, what's happening here? Are you organizing as a group, or are you?
Around that issue.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
this is the beginning.
Okay, well, I will just give you an update kind of on some things that are happening. So there is a group called Christians Against Christian Nationalism, and it's being centered with a very dear friend of mine who is the Ed Hennepin, and we're organizing, doing book clubs, doing marches, doing all kinds of things. So I certainly can share that with you. We've got a group at Wayzata Community Church that is also, we're part of that group. And so what I would, I will talk about it in a minute, but what I would recommend if you're interested in this is reach out to Judy or to me, and we can connect you to other Christians and Jews, frankly, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, people of faith who are very concerned about what's happening at in terms of our democracy being hijacked by people who frankly say they're Christian, but I don't see them behaving in a very Christian way. Of course, we're seeing this extremely highlighted right now with the murder of Charlie Kirk. And so I can't speak, I'm certainly not an expert on this, but what I can tell you is I believe that, read all the conspiracy theories you want about this and why he was murdered, but I do believe that this is a turning point. And it is now our time, if I could use that word "our" presumptively.
Yes.
I know not all of you, maybe some of you are just here to meet me or here, but if I use the word "our," it means Christians who care about defending what we see as Christian and faith-based living. So please don't get offended if you disagree, but what I see this is really our call to action. Right now, it is about to take a hard right turn, and I also see, though, this is the time where people that share our values are really now starting to say, not anymore, not on my watch. And so I think that's good. I've got water, it's just a frog, I don't know what it is. So what we're seeing now with Charlie Kirk's murder is kind of this, not kind of, I need to be stronger. We are definitely seeing a confluence of media and the president and his followers and the administration now become more emboldened in deifying Charlie Kirk and saying, if you're not with us, you're against us. So we're seeing things like the arrest of the superintendent of public schools in Des Moines. We're seeing things like, really much more hateful behavior by ICE and by immigration control. I'm just looking here about more stuff. If there's any time for our Secular Government Caucus, the time is now, but I guess I will tell you that at a state level, we need to do more. We need to be more emboldened. What's really happening right now is the Republic, now this is my opinion, okay?
You say choir.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Fine. So, what is really happening with Christian nationalism, I'm just gonna tell you, is they have hijacked the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And I was at an event last week speaking to a group of neighbors, and they're so frustrated. Why do they behave this way? Why are they doing this? And I will tell you, they have no choice. Let me tell you what's going on. All right, so the Christian nationalists have hijacked the Republican Party in such a way, this is my beliefs, my opinion, okay? I'm not speaking for anybody other than Ann Johnson Stewart. But I have done quite a bit of reading on this. So what they have done is they've hijacked the party in such a way that in order to be endorsed by the Republican Party, you must fall in line with these Christian nationalist beliefs. Now, if you're not familiar with the endorsement process, a 10-second overview, in order to be provided with all of the support and all of the resources, the data, which is enormous, the volunteers, the administrative structure of the party, you must be endorsed. And so here in Minnesota, we have an endorsement process. You probably saw it happening with the mayor in Minneapolis. That was a big kerfuffle. We have it at all the different levels. We have it at federal level, we have it at state level, we even have it at the local city level for some races. Now, in order to be endorsed by the Republican Party, I think it is an absolute indisputable fact that you have to be in alignment with the white Christian nationalists. And so then you say, well, what do we do about that? And what do we do about that is we have to figure out a way to grab some of those Republicans out of their clutches and help them get elected without the endorsement. Now, if there were certain DFLers in this room, they would not agree with me. They're like, we're not helping any Republicans get elected. But what I believe is this: there are some places in the nation, and certainly in Minnesota, where a Democrat stands no chance of getting elected, pure and simple. I mean, you could, that's the same true for Republicans in places like downtown Minneapolis. I mean, that is just the very much truth. You hear about the redistricting in Texas where they created 5 new seats. Well, somebody who doesn't understand the endorsement process or demographics might say, but aren't they subject to election? How does this guarantee seats? Well, the data is such that we really know very much where individual districts are going to send their votes. So basic, yeah, actually, let me show you this. Oh, wrong way. And just show you real quick, because this informs this. So this is the Minnesota Senate in the last election. You see all the red. I mean, I'm sure you guys know what you're looking at here. These seats down here that are so deep red, that means that the Republican won these seats by over 70%. So we're in a church, cone of silence. Gary James is the senator down here. He is horrible. Anybody related to Gary James? He doesn't have to do a darn thing. He just has to get the Republican endorsement. Okay. Up here, you can see deep blue, Senator Scott Dibble, Bobby Champion. I mean, there's some awesome, Aaron Murphy, there's some great senators up in there, and they're great, but frankly, they could be terrible too, and they're gonna continue to get their seats. So what I think we do about Christian nationalism is we have to say, all right, I get it. This is gonna be a Republican no matter what. what can we do to get a Republican that is not part of the Looney Tune Christian nationalist group? And I really think that's what we're gonna have to. The reality is, if I was Ann Johnson Stewart running for Senate in, here's Rob Pack right here. Let me tell you, see if you can get the correlation. Doesn't want to vote on gun violence. Doesn't want to vote on gun violence. Doesn't want to vote on gun violence.
Right.
What can you tell me about those?
Yeah,
Sure. They're all very like pockets, right? Now here's me, just a little bit darker, and I'm like, of course I'm gonna vote on that, but I don't wanna prescribe anybody else's, everybody's gotta fight their own battles and fight their own demons, but you can certainly see a correlation. Here's Eric Putnam, remember what I told you? He also doesn't wanna vote on gun violence. This is Nick Friends, this is Liz Golden, but this is Carla Nelson. And so I think there's definitely some places where we can be much more strategic. But that's what's happening, and that is why Christian nationalism has such a tight hold on our politics, both at the state and the federal level. Christian nationalism is conflating nationalism with Christianity. Nationalism, I wish I'd actually have a whole presentation on this, but I just was misguided a little bit about what I was supposed to talk about. I'll come back and talk about Christian nationalism. Actually, what I will do is invite you, maybe, we have a minister at our church, Dan Stark, who's in the military. He gave an amazing presentation on Christian nationalism and its roots and the dangers, and I'd be happy to come back and give that myself or to bring Dan with me. I think there's power in congregations, and if we can find each other, I think that's really important. But the problem right now is, well, I'll just speak off about my slides here. Christian nationalism has really had its deep roots way back, I mean, even back into the 40s and 50s. But we really saw this grasp of the Republican Party by the fundamentalists in our lifetime, back in the 70s with Jerry Falwell, and they started to say, or to see, hey, we can get a voting block through these churches if we work with the media that the Christian right really maintains, and with their ministers, again, people like Jerry Falwell and others. You know, at one time, all of those ministers were pro-choice, for example, and they really were aligned more with the less conservative side of the reproductive rights argument. Then they also saw that as a way to really kind of get their groups together and mobilize them around one issue. We thought that Christian nationalism was going to go away once abortion or Roe v. Wade was overturned, and what we've seen is they just garnered more power, more steam. So we're not seeing that, and so what we really need to do is figure out a way. Like I said, that's my idea. We really need to figure out a way to fight them at the party level. How about this? How about if I let you ask questions right now as I get some more notes together here about other things you might want to think about? Sir.
You urged us to communicate with various representatives of various issues that we consider. Would you please communicate that to the church office so that you know what they were for?
Yeah, I will. I'm happy to do that. So, so yes, I will do that, and I will, I think what's more important around that is something that's further on in this presentation, and it's about how to be more effective in who you communicate with. So, for example, I did bring notes today on the big beautiful bill and what it's going to do to dismantle and destroy our nursing home system and our Medicaid and Medicare system. We are going to see 140,000 Minnesotans lose their insurance once the big beautiful bill takes effect, which the Republicans that are in leadership in Congress were smart enough to make sure that those changes don't happen until after November of next year. November of next year being the next election. But once those changes do come into place, we're gonna see, we know where they are. We're gonna see 50 nursing homes in Minnesota shut down. we're gonna see 140,000 people lose their healthcare benefits. We're already seeing people's healthcare benefits go up as healthcare providers figure out ways that they're gonna deal with this. We've seen hospitals close. Mayo closed 6 hospitals last week. And so to get back to your question, for me to tell you who to contact is easy. But I also will send key contacts for key committees. So the committee work is where all of this really happens at the state level. It happens at the federal level too, but again, at the federal level, they cut the funding and then the states are the ones that have to fix it. So at the federal level, they've already cut the funding. Now, we do have a little bit of power in that right now in Congress, they're renegotiating to keep the government open. And one of the things the Democrats are saying is you must restore the cuts to healthcare. But I don't know that they're agreeing on that yet, and I don't know that they will. So let's presume that these cuts are gonna happen. They will be implemented at the state level. So at the state level, we have the Health and Human Services Committee, which is chaired by Melissa Wickland. Again, I'll give you this information. She is genius level smart, and she is a senator from Bloomington, and she will do all that she can to make sure that people are protected, as many nursing homes stay open as we can, et cetera, et cetera. The challenge will be in the House. So in the House, they have co-chairs. There is a Democrat and a Republican that chair the Human Services Committee. So I think it's called Human Services Policy. Again, I'll send all this to you, I'll send it to Judy and you can distribute it. But at the House level, they will have to figure out, just like we have to figure out in the Senate, they will have to agree on where to spend the money and how to implement those policy protections. That's where I would put my time and energy, not just reaching out to those House members that are in that committee or in leadership, but also frankly, showing up at those committee meetings and making sure that those House members are voting in ways to protect Minnesotans. In Minnesota, I would say at the Senate level, we are going to do our hardest. We are going to do everything we can, and we will be successful in passing bills. Notice I didn't say laws because we're not to that yet. In passing bills that protect our nursing homes, our hospitals, those people that rely on Medicaid and Medicare, both, okay? In the House, they may or may not be able to do that. The challenge then comes, this is a bill in the Senate, this is a bill in the House. None of this becomes law until it's agreed to. So that's why it's really important, at least for the next biennium, that we make sure to contact those important leaders in the House so that they come to, this is called the conference committee, with a good slate of bills already negotiated. Now I'll give you another secret. If in the Senate, we do a really good job of protecting nursing homes or keeping Hennepin County Medical Center open, which is not a sure thing, okay? Remember when in the beginning when I was crying and saying, this is gonna be bad? Okay, so let's say in the Senate that we do that. We're so proud. Here in the House, they haven't done it. When these two come together, it's anybody's bet what happens. And so what I saw this year, the first year we had a tie since the 70s, is in those negotiating committee meetings. We had new stuff come that had never been heard by committee. We had heard stuff that was approved in both the Senate and the House committees thrown out. And so we saw a total disruption of the process. Back to your point about Christian nationalism and saving democracy, that's what we're seeing in the House or in the state right now. We are seeing this kind of crazy behavior where rules are not being, I wouldn't say they're rules, we're not breaking any rules, because if we were, it would be unconstitutional. Where let's just say tradition and norms are being thrown out the window. So
How, from what I keep here, how do the Christian nationalists align being Christian, questionable, with cutting off aid. This nursing homes, by the way, promotes underage care.
Yeah,
This nursing homes, you may not be on Medicaid, but it's gonna affect all of us.
Yeah.
And we are gonna have any place to go to either. We become this.
right.
How do the Christian nationalists, what's their main point? To kill off people? What are they just trying to get God in charge? We've always been raised to think that would be a good thing.
Yeah. I think I see two other questions. My perception is that there is a disconnect. I see my Jesus crying at many of these things. They don't like government. They want the church to be in charge. And while it seems contrary to many of our beliefs, they're just following. It's easy to be a Christian when somebody tells you what you like and what you don't like, who you don't like.
Yeah.
So, sir, and then I know you have a question.
Well, just to extend that, the extension of that, I know it takes longer to say, but isn't it, to answer that question or that concern, isn't it more accurate to say Christian nationalist, white male supremacists?
Yeah.
Help.
Yes. Yeah, well, look at Charlie Kirk, I mean.
Yeah.
Many people believe he was a white supremacist. He certainly gave us plenty of proof in what he said and who he advocated for. I would love to come back and give a full hour on Christian nationalism. Or to bring Dan, I think there's great opportunity for our churches to collaborate on this.
So,
Yes, question.
so first of all, I just want to say, some of you guys know this, but I have a daughter who's evangelical. And they have mastered the art of cherry picking scripture to come with the Constitution. And that's the way they talk to their people. But I'm wondering is, when you look at all of these really red areas, are people so uninformed that they don't realize that by following Christian nationalism, they are aligning themselves with racists and misogynists and fascists? Don't they get that?
No, I don't know.
I mean, how do you educate that?
Yeah, and here, what you just said is a core component of this whole movement of the educated elite. And so if you look, when I do come back and talk about the rise of fascism, the rise of Christian nationalism, much of it has to do with squelching the academics and we saw it in Hitler's Germany, we've seen it in many other examples where there's this almost a rebellion against the educated, against getting informed. And it's certainly something that we have to figure out how to do, because for us to save our democracy, you guys, it's gonna get terrible. And we are seeing people get organized and fight back. I do have a whole page of resources on how to fight Christian nationalism that I'll put up here. But certainly, even this, I feel like this hour was good because I started to introduce you to how the process works and what really is what's the reality here? How do we fight Christian nationalists? We gotta empower Republicans, we really do. There are good Republicans out there, some of you remember Jim Randstad, you remember James Sternberger. And even, naming two is enough, but we know that they're out there and there are good Republicans in the Senate right now. They are not allowed to speak their truth because of the slow endorsement process.
So my grandsons are on Medicaid following their father's death. And there's Republican in their circle of family. So I'm wondering if they get kicked off Medicare or Medicaid, I should say. Is there a process? Will they start thinking differently? Or when grandma gets kicked out of a nursing home, will they start thinking differently? I mean, how can we help them understand that consequence?
I know, it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, wouldn't it be great if they were all in the streets and homeless and, starving?
I don't want
and that
it.
serves them right?
I don't want
But
it.
on the other, I don't want that. I mean, I am a Christian person and I want I believe in social safety nets. I want your grandkids to be cared for, absolutely 100%. I don't know, if we come back, I will bring data to show if we're starting to see a change in belief structure. We have started to see that data, I've heard it and I've seen it, I just don't have it at my fingertips. I know you guys have church at 10:30, right?
Yeah.
Okay, one thing I wanted to show, and then I'm gonna put up the resources, is there are lots of ways to keep track of where things are in the legislature, okay? And this is part of my presentation that I give, that I also have to come back and do, but you can create a follow my bills account and it will let you know when a bill is up for hearing, okay? So I'm happy to show you this, but basically you just create a my bills account. So I could, maybe I'll just put this all together and send it to Judy, she will send it out. But this is how you track a bill, you create a login, and then you can just look, let's see this. You can, it's so easy, you go and you search like, what do I know about, or what do I wanna know about? Nursing homes, or Medicaid, or Medicare, or whatever. And then you create a My Bills account, and then you can follow it. It will tell you when bills are coming up in committee. And you can go and either testify or just be there as your own person advocating. You also can follow, now, some of this might feel like a tidal wave, or you know, that ALS fundraiser where they pour water over you. Absolutely it is, when you're just starting to figure this out, but this is the time where we need to be vigilant. And so if, for example, you are interested in making sure that cuts to Medicaid do not impact your family members, or nursing homes are not closed, I can help, I'll be the translator, I'll tell you which committees you wanna be following. And you can go to any one of those committees, but even more importantly, you can watch them from home. Everything at the legislature, everything is online, live, and recorded. So if you wanna follow what's happening, you can do that. Now, I will also, go ahead.
The conference committee's not.
Yes, well, they're not always, but conference committees are supposed to be public. We recently went through the conference committee, I was on 4 of them, and some of ours were public and some of ours weren't. It's really at the sneakiness of the chair, but they're supposed to be public. Everything at the legislature is supposed to be public. I thought of something else, can't remember. My message when I give this presentation is, yes, it's great to contact your legislator. A lot of you raised your hand and you're my constituents. I'd love to hear from you. That's super great. Makes me feel really good when I know people are liking what I do. Plus, I have a couple trolls that are pretty geeky. And so it's pretty nice to get that. But what I really want you to do is use your power to make sure that, again, I think the most critical for us next session is the Health and Human Services. I can Google it and just show you right now. The Health and Human Services policy chairs in the House. There's a Republican and a Senate and a Democrat. They're the ones that need to know how you really feel, because they're the ones that are gonna bring their docket to the conference committee at the end of session, and they're the ones, you guys, people are gonna be kicked out of nursing homes in X number of states across the nation. Notice I said X. Some states will not care. Some states, I think you could fill in the blank, are gonna say, okay, well, I guess that's their own tough luck if they're in a nursing home. And I'm not even kidding. We've seen some of those states, and we know where their legislators' values lie. Some states like Minnesota will say absolutely not on our watch. So yes, nursing homes may close. We already have a list of the ones that are likely to close. One in Golden Valley, I mean, some that are pretty close to the metro area. And some of the hospitals will close. Absolutely. Right now, what we're doing, because we've been given the knowledge that these cuts are gonna happen November 28th, 2026, or whatever date it is. There are all kinds of really smart people under the direction of our good governor, Governor Wall, saying we need a whole bunch of different strategies, and people are coming back saying, if this, then this, if we can't do this, then this, if here, then this. Yes, we're gonna close these nursing homes in these counties, we're gonna send all the people here. These people are gonna go over here, we're gonna tighten our resources. Rest assured, all that work is happening right now. It's not public, it's not anything that has to be implemented, but it will happen once those cuts take effect. We will not let people die in the streets of Minnesota, as long as we maintain a majority of those people who share those values. So without getting too dark, or too political, you understand what I'm saying, sir.
You have a preference to who succeeds Tina Smith?
I do. Well, yeah, I guess, I told you I would, I would tell you. So two women Democrats are running, Peggy Flanagan and Angie Craig, and I publicly endorse Angie Craig. Not because I don't like Peggy Flanagan, I think she's outstanding, fantastic, but I think at a statewide level, Angie Craig is gonna have a much easier time winning that race. She's also has a much deeper resume in terms of political service. She served at the federal level. She's extremely good at bridging the divide. She wins her district on the Republican side. Even, she beats Donald Trump in terms of more people voted for her than voted for Trump. And so I think Angie Craig has a much better chance of winning, which is why I endorsed her. At the congressional level in CD2, Congressional District 2, where Angie is not running, Dr. Matt Klein, who is a amazing senator, my colleague, he is running against Matt Little, also a wonderful human, but I really think Matt Klein is in a better position. And anytime we can get another doctor into Congress, I think is really important. So Matt is an emergency room doctor at Mayo. Brilliant politician in terms of floor strategy and catching people when they're trying to do something against the rules. So he's really smart at politics, but he's also a brilliant doctor. So those are my two endorsements. And of course, I hope the governor wins. I'm a little nervous. You guys, all of this, the legislature can do a lot, but we can't do much without a supermajority if we do not have cooperation with the governor. And right now, with just a 1-seat majority in the Senate, who knows what's gonna happen after next year? I really think we'll maintain the majority in the legislature. But we need a supermajority to get work done if we do not have Democratic governor. So I'm fully behind Governor Walz. Question?
I have a question about the health and human services, that whole thing that it seems we were hearing so much bad publicity about now, and wonder in terms of the leadership of that.
You mean the fraud in that
Yes,
department?
yes.
Yeah, that's one thing that really dismays me is all the fraud that we're hearing about that's happening at our state level department. So with housing, with health and human services, with food distribution or so-called food distribution during COVID, and then with the autism, there's been some big frauds, and I will tell you, I'm extremely disappointed in the governor. I think he needs to be stronger, and he needs to be much more diligent. That's his watch. Those are his people. And so I know there's many legislators who are concerned about that. It makes us all look bad, because if you ever watch anything happen at committee level or on the floor is when we're all in the one big room, you will hear, Senator Dibble and I sit next to each other, we started making ticks. Anytime somebody says waste, fraud, and abuse, it is their kind of go-to, and they say it over and over again, and they're not wrong. We have a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse, and that lands with the governor's desk. I can't tell you more about it other than we're concerned in that there is some legislation happening. Well, actually, we did have a bill that got through the Senate, but not the House, to create an office of the Inspector General, who would oversee every state agency. Right now, there's individual inspector generals, that's not really the word, inside some of the individual agencies like transportation and others. But then you have, let's just talk about transportation. You have an employee of the commissioner of transportation doing audit and oversight of the office or the Department of Transportation. Seems like that should be taken out. So we tried to get that passed, but the House did not pass it. There's work to be done. It's embarrassing, to be sure. And it gives our opponents a lot of ammunition, which is hard to argue against. I mean, it was against waste product use. I think I saw another question.
Yes. So I have a book that I just got out of the library as your church librarian. I forget it, but it's by Amanda Tyler, who's the lead organizer for Christians Against Christian Nationalism.
Oh, good.
She has several steps. I'm feeling a little frustrated, like what can we do? So if I could just read real quick, take 1 minute. Step 1, name and understand the threat of Christian nationalism. Step 2, ground yourself in God's love. Step 3, denounce violence. Step 4, it's the separation of church and state. Step 5, take on Christian nationalism close to home. Step 6, organize for change. Step 7, protect religious freedom in public schools. Step 8, take your place in the public square.
Oh, I like that.
Yes. So I haven't gotten to reading those chapters yet, but I thought that was helpful. What's that?
I've read the whole book, it's.
So I will get it from the library.
Title of that book,
How to End Christian Nationalism.
I like
She's an
it.
attorney, she's an attorney and grew up Christian, actually Baptist, but I didn't know anything.
So I will, this is my page of resources. Again, I will, I'm happy to come back. I'm
Yes.
happy to connect Dan Stark, our minister who's done, we had a whole series at Wayzata Community Church on how to combat Christian nationalism. I was so proud of us because we had,
That's just fun.
we had
All really good, including things on like, what can you do? So I'll make sure to give Judy some resources, including ways to get involved with capital. I'm happy to come back. I think it is up, look around this room, we're all powerful white people who have a certain amount of added privilege, and if anybody's going to fight back against Christian nationalists, I think it's us. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of me for showing up. I think you should be proud of yourselves for showing up. There is an organization out in the state who's very active. How many of you know of Faith in Minnesota or Isaiah? Yeah, and so they're centered just out here, just east of here at Mills Church. I'll include them as well. And I've been trying to get our church to become a Faith in Minnesota congregation for a while. Remember at the beginning I said I'm glad we're finally moving there. It's taken a while, but you can be an individual and be involved in that organization as well, and I would encourage you to do that. You know, we just can't give up hope. We can't. We must hope that we will combat what I see as a real dismantling of our democracy and a real threat to people in our country. Citizens or not, I don't care. If they're in our country, they are subject to protection. I see you, but I want to say 2 more things before I forget. There's 2 other things you can do that I can help with. One is there are trainings that I went to be a constitutional observer that I think I'm starting to get another group of people. We can certainly offer that at a location out in the western suburbs where it might be convenient. And that's, if you're seeing the videos right now of the guy saying, I'm a combat vet, I can film this, I can watch this. Somebody see that horrible video, that was just horrible. But anyway, it teaches you how to be an observer in a way that's smart. Like for me, I'm thinking, I'm just gonna lay myself down and get arrested. No, do not do that. You don't want to be arresting white people and spending resources on their defense. We want to be observing and getting data so that we can spend our resources on helping people of color and immigrants that are getting arrested. That's just one example. So there's constitutional observer training, and then there's also defiance training, where there is also a very excellent training that's been created and is being offered, and I can certainly offer, not necessarily to the church, but to any of you individuals who want to go through that. We can get that training as well, and it has to do with how to be somebody who is pushing back in a smart way. Okay, so again, there's lots of ways to be an activist right now. My opinion is there's smarter ways to band with others to be more effective. So I see you have another question.
We're all old, we're ending up in the hospital and rehab, we go to demonstrate, we end up in the ER. Charlie Kirk, when you look at his audiences and the people there are young. I don't see anybody of an age that I can hear. I'll just take this away for everyone. How do we get them involved?
People at and at resistance training. Church. Ethics of who goes to church, we're seeing that at Wayzata. That, you know, our congregation is skewing a little bit to this demographic. So I will say that we are seeing youth rise up. And I teach at the university, we're seeing it at the university, but it is certainly an issue. Charlie Kirk appealed to this demographic for a reason. My son-in-law is one of them, right? My young 28-year-old white son-in-law is one of those who thinks Charlie was the greatest guy ever. And actually, he didn't really know about Charlie Kirk till he died. So part of me, that helps me to kind of be a little suspicious of the whole thing. But again, it's the reality. We are here right now. So what do we do? How do we respond? As Christians, how do we reclaim our faith and reclaim the state that we want to live in, the nation we want to live in? I think those are really important. And so I'm happy to continue to be involved. Again, I can bring a whole PowerPoint on Christian nationalism, Judy. So I'm really grateful that you invited me, and I hope this is just the beginning of a conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, enjoy church again. I'm just north of here, and even if I'm not your senator, I certainly can put you in touch with somebody who can be responsive and get you information you need. All right, thank you. Get out my hand.
Right now, I know.
She's good. She's.
She is good.
And goes.
I know, so it's got, so that's.
I don't want to see that isn't.
Yeah.
She's the person. Down because.
It says, I know it's a tricky.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to ask somebody. Well, anyway, we'll come to the intro and then I'll.
It's.
Yeah, but then she'll say. I know.
You're a.
You're gonna be for that.
Oh, but I mean. All right, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, so we're good. All right.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, thanks for your work.
Yeah.
Alright,
You know.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
You worked on it. No,
really? Worked at the legislature, huh? Sorry, committee administrator, you worked hard.
Yeah.
What committee was it?
Yes.
No, first time like labor management.
No, I like to see it.
But then.
I mean,
Confrontation.
Wow. Yeah, we rely on our committee administrators, like, yes. They're just, we don't treasure us, and we costs, conference committees. Well, they just all got thrown out this year because we had a Republican and a Democrat in the House. And like I was on transportation, the two wouldn't talk to each other. So we had to be in 3 different. Like that. Exactly. We have a real problem with that. All right, like, next more, I think. Here's our. Yeah, so it's not so nice to meet you.
It's very interesting. So she focuses groceries.
Yes, yes. How did it, how far did it go in the Senate?
Just to know, it's just.
Did it die there or did it get passed out?
I mean, it's like.
I mean, you think of all the causes that we
Watch
all
on with the slope.
worked on,
No.
and what are the main ones that we didn't really spend enough
And then I got died.
to give to them?
Well, that's where you should put your energy.
Now.
Oh, it's not dead because we're in the same biennium.
Oh,
You know,
that's a good
so if it passed this biennium.
Yeah, I,
It's still alive. So you should focus on it.
yes, it is.
I know.
The backlash is,
But you should also.
I
focus on it also.
but we gotta educate our young.
You know, it has to make it, it's that much hands of it. Yes.
That we've never had before, with people attending the parade.
Yes.
And,
And then you sent me that.
you know,
Well, that's not my comment, so we could definitely find out.
Science. I'm not sure they
You're
all
like,
know.
that was super.
Well, yeah,
Good job, give me a full.
but that tells you something.
Yeah, he does say, I go to read those.
Okay.
So I was like, and then I will help you understand where we're sitting on this thing, you know, how to check it, your house. And then we'll also see where it is. Okay, sorry, Jimmy, my pleasure. It's good for us to. Oh. Well, okay, like I said, you know, I love and we being a teacher person, sitting somewhere and not having all right things. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have to wing it, you know, but okay. And they said, can we hold your signs? People have to know how to.
Oh my God, that is wonderful.
And I'm thinking, like, it's just like,
Just don't know,
right?
you don't know.
Straight us out so we don't waste power. We hold up signs. So
Yeah.
you're always.
Yeah, I know, yeah,
Awesome,
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Come back again.
Okay, I will, if I get it, next time I'll bring the right notes.
You
Oh,
you wrapped up the right group.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's important that we stand up for justice. I mean,
Oh,
it's even
yeah.
bigger than
But I
Christianity.
like what you just said, though. It's just,
It is justice.
And-
It absolutely is.
and,
Oh, I think it was awesome. Good.
yeah,
Oh.
because, some people, if they start with, Christian and the religion stuff, they can screw that up.
That's right.
And
out
we
here
gotta
we
be
have a-
careful of that.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, and that
We have a
worries.
real strong Jewish community out here who are equally concerned. I don't know how to turn that off.
Yeah, that's a good point, they are.
All right, that's my, hey, it's right for a
Well,
while.
and at the, like,
All right, you're on.
museum sometimes, we have,
Okay.
you know,
All right, bye, ladies.
Yeah, I know,
Thank
I
you
know,
so much.
but we worked with them on.
Judy, let's have her back right away again.
I'll work on it.
Okay.
Yeah, but see, I wanted to ask you about, because I'm interested in, Jerry and I are in that overproof. In the, so,
Oh, okay, I'll get you the information, all right?
I got your flyer.
Well, you know what happened?
What? I
The
wanted
Board
to
of Stello said, no, you cannot do this. You cannot have a town hall in Monticello, the city will not allow it. And last week, I took out of our meeting space in Monticello.
Oh, I'm glad I asked you.
Yeah.
Where did
We don't know, we're kind of like,
Oh, thank goodness, but I thought I was gonna figure out. My kids.
we're still trying to do this. You know,
You are?
because we can't find another trust to do it.